Good evening. Welcome to The Caring View, the online social care chat show which airs every Tuesday live on YouTube and catch up on all major podcasts. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell. If you're on Facebook, the star. If you're on LinkedIn, I don't know what. We are available on all major social networking sites, so do give us a follow, do join in on the conversation. And the opinions we share tonight are of our own and not our respective companies. If they are, controversial or close to the knuckle, which mine usually are. As you will notice, Mark's not here this week. He is on his holly jollies, which I'm incredibly jealous about, but it's great that he's having his downtime. So I'm left with just four wonderful people, and we're talking recruitment, the word on everybody's lips, the thing keeping us all up at night. It's not, who's going to be our next prime minister. It's not the cost of fuel. It's not whether X Factor or Big Brother's ever going to come back to our TVs. It's recruitment and how do we get people in our doors. So I'm going to go around and let you all introduce yourselves first, and then we will start talking. So, Pretty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pretty Samani. I am the care home manager of Cherry Tree Care Home in Council of Leicester, as well as the director of Cara Healthcare. And I have been heavily involved with managing the care homes, as well as recruitment with people plan and other topics as well. So.
And it's been great to have you a part of the people plan. It's great to really get that sort of provider input to that really on the ground level. Yeah. Damien.
Hi everyone. Name's Damien. I work for a company called Cohesion Recruitment. We specialise in recruitment outsourcing. My primary function is to consult and support recruitment teams in these challenging times and try and find new and invigorating ways to get teams recruiting at the very best that they can, and in this challenging time, trying to even find some people that are relevant and do the best that we can with them. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, it's a huge welcome back as well. So welcome back to the show, Damien. You were on at some point last year, I think, when we were in our infancy. So if you've not watched Damien's last episode, go back and check it out with Amanda Marquis, I think, was on as well.
That was it, Amanda, yeah.
Scott.
I'm Scott Sheridan. I'm the managing director and founder of Purple Tribe. I think a lot of people probably would have come across us as a past version of the Care Hub. We're also a recruitment outsource provider. We work predominantly purely in the healthcare sector. And we offer managed service solutions from everything from recruitment advertising, digital, DBS reference checking, etc. Very similar to Damien's background.
Thank you so much for joining us, Scott. And I know we've spoken a number of times. And if you ever want a good night out, make sure Scott's on your team, because there's a good night out to be had there. Last but definitely not least, Joe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joe, Joseph Chizororo. I'm the founder and team principal of Hendricks Recruitment. We specialize in recruiting internationally. Specifically from Southern Africa, so Zimbabwe, South Africa. And our main objective is basically just to help as many care providers as possible to navigate the seemingly very complicated topic of international recruitment by just breaking it down into small steps that they can all manage, and providing a tailored solution that actually helps to just keep that quality of care very high.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Joe. And I think I've never been in a virtual room with so many people, I think, that are going to give me, if I was still a care manager, enough knowledge and tips to be able to go out there and hopefully fix the problem of recruitment in social care. So Tonight, we are looking at top tips. What are the tips that these experts can give us on recruitment? How can we improve our recruitment in our care settings? It isn't just care homes. We have learning disability settings. We have home care settings, sheltered accommodation, extra housing. We have, you name it. We even have people who are employing their own carers. So we need to think about the gig economy and the micro enterprises. So there's a lot to consider when we think about recruitment. And I think if we asked anyone in social care what the biggest problem in social care is, we would probably be hearing recruitment. I think Skills for Care put us some really dreadful figures recently. We've got a 10% vacancy within our workforce, which 160,000, I think, off the top of my head. But out of the 1.6 million people we've got working in social care, 1.3 million are in direct facing roles. So that's 130,000, estimated direct facing care roles we've currently got vacancy wise, and that's only going to grow. So tonight we're going to hear top tips from you all. And then we're going to break out into a bit of a conversation, a bit of a discussion afterwards. Let's, chew the cud with like-minded people and let's put the world to rights. Joe, I want to pick your brain later on this evening around overseas recruitment, because I think it's essential, but there are concerns from providers in this country around some of the logistics and requirements of it. So it'd be great to hear what you say about that. So, who wants to go first? I'm going to come to Scott first. Scott, top tips on recruitment. Purple Tribe. Most people know you. If you don't know you, they should know you. So what are your top tips for our viewers? Give us 3.
From my perspective, I think I'm going to pick the 3 topics that I covered at the care show, Dementia Care Show, the exhibitions that we've been speaking at throughout the year. Because I think everybody will have a different perception on how recruitment impacts them. And I think it's fair to say that depending on where you are sat within the organisation, whether you are an owner, manager, director, so you've got the P&L, you've got all the costs, you're going to look at it from, if you're, say, for example, residential care setting, I'm stressing out about my high agency use, high agency costs, and the impact that affects my bottom line. There's going to be the impact that has in quality care. So I think it's fair to look at it that what would be 3 top tips for a CEO may not be the 3 top tips you might give to a training manager or a recruitment manager or a registered manager that's not charged with it. But the 3 I'll pick is the number 1. I think, albeit it's a tough time to recruit, in our experience, when we go on site, do a recruitment health check and audit, look at the as is to be processes, the majority of our cases, and I would say up towards 90%, the biggest problems sit within their ability or inability to manage their recruitment process effectively from start to finish. So I always focus on, you all talk about finding candidates, and it is tough to find candidates now. It's another separate, I'll say that in a second. But at the end of the day, trying to get into a way that you manage your process in a best practice method from start to finish. And I mean everything from a well-crafted advert through to effective response times, through to the way that you articulate your value proposition, that process, that candidate journey, that candidate experience. And I wrote an article on LinkedIn about why you should roll out the red carpet for care workers right now, because this is something that's not been seen since a generation or 2 generations. I believe that we're in a situation now where the 1.3 million open vacancies versus the low resource or talent pool to pick from has not been seen since 1974. So we're at a point now where Office of National Statistics said in their January to March report that we're at 215,000 empty vacancies across social care, which is higher than Skills for Care. But I believe if you took into the home care problem, both the private providers, I believe it's way bigger than 215,000. And when you add in the fact that we're going to need another 500,000 staff plus in the next 5 to 8 years, you're going to be pushing 750,000 people. But your ability to manage your candidate process would be my first thing, and getting a best practice model around that. Not number 2, I'll keep it simple. Not having all your eggs in the Indeed basket, and just pumping thousands of pounds of them and relying on what seems to be Indeed's favourite method, which is you just need to pay more, guys. Just give me more money. And the final thing I would say is about your metrics. I'm a big advocate of, within a recruitment business, Damien will tell you this, recruitment businesses, we measure every step of the process. At the end of the day, great saying, what you don't measure, you can't improve. What you do measure, can improve your results, but what gets measured and reported on can grow exponentially. So I would say recruitment process number one, having a wider talent reach and managing your recruitment metrics will be my top 3 tips.
And I mean, they're incredible top tips, and I love your. I mean, I was on the Indeed bandwagon for years. Oh, it's great, it's free, do this, do that, and then you realize everyone's doing it, and it's like, well, what am I going to get from this? I love your last one about the metrics, and I still think there's a deficit in the knowledge of data within a lot of providers, within a lot of managers, and I think data is super important. So, I think taking your last tip, it's a case of doing it and really understanding the data of it. And I think people don't get that. They'll pay for all these fancy softwares that will do recruitment for them and do their applicant process, but they do nothing with that data. Where are your applications coming from? Hit them more than pouring your money into a dead spot where no one's coming off. I think that's spot on.
Damien will tell you himself is that when you're looking at things like applicant tracking systems, they're only as good as the user. It's a big database at the end of the day. And if you've heard anything that Vic Rayner says from National Care Forum, data. We seem to report data on everything else, rather than sometimes we have data that tells us things that we kind of already know and feel. But data around recruitment is tangible. It has a massive, massive impact. You can't run a recruitment business without data.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
Yeah, spot on. Cheeky plug, if anyone is unsure on data, the Institute, Invicta IQ, Digital Social Care and Daniel Casson, we have created the Data Cafe. It is free to join and we are teaching and learning all things data in a friendly, warm environment. Super essential. With that, let's come to Damien. Damien, Scott's talked you up. He's propped you up now and we're expecting big things. So what be your top tips on recruitment for our viewers?
I mean, first and foremost, what Scott said there is, for me, probably the most fundamental thing that I spend all my time on is analysing the data. What's happening? What can we affect change on? How can we improve it? How can we eliminate something? So just want a virtual high five to Scott that is some fantastic advice. And, anyone that's got a recruitment function now, if you can go and figure out what's happening, you'll find a 5 and 10% tweak in there quite easily, and that will significantly improve your output. So definitely take that advice. But on a slightly different note, one of the biggest things we've just discussed is that there's not enough workers in the economy that we need. We can't just go and find those workers, so we have to kind of create them. So we're looking at a lot of things like early talent programs to bring people in for the future, trying to find people that are maybe not so well represented. But the big thing for me, and we call it values-based recruitment, is recruiting people that have no experience in care whatsoever. And also people that have experience in care, but not in a paid capacity. So they might be looking after friends or relatives. We have a product called Care Character. I'm certainly not trying to plug it, but we sponsored a professor to do a psychometric.
We are on the BBC. Plug away. I really don't care. None of this, other sources do exist and all that rubbish. No, plug away.
Brilliant. So click the link. So basically, we sponsored a professor to do a psychometric assessment for frontline staff, and it looks at the core values of care, the 7 key values that anybody should have going into care. And when you do this assessment, you can take somebody on with no experience that shows the right values, and then train and develop that individual to come into your organisation. Now, I've had quite a lot of experience in bringing in people into the care industry, and we hear from lots of managers, and this is understandable, that they don't want somebody without experience. I say give it a whirl, because 9 times out of 10, we end up having fantastic feedback about bringing people into the sector. So that's one of my biggest tips that I can provide to anyone out there. Look for people with that experience. Then the opposite side, not only is it difficult to recruit, it's exceptionally difficult to keep hold of staff. What do we do? How do we try and make staff feel like they're the most valued person in the world? The onboarding process has to be strong, has to be consistent, has to be values orientated around individual workers, not just we've got 20 new starters. Learn those workers, make them feel valued. We know that home managers don't have the time. We know that. But a little bit of time spent with these people now will save you a lot of time in the long run. make people feel valued. It's a huge thing out there. We can talk loads about retention, but it boils down to, did my boss make me feel good today? That's what it really boils down to. So, you know, the value is in the people in the industry. My other point will probably seem a bit strange for the dynamic, that I work with lots of recruitment teams that can't get to target. And I don't know about anyone else out there, that's nothing but a challenge when you can't achieve. Reward your teams for the small successes. Let them know that they might not be getting to where we want them to be, but they're still achieving in a desperately difficult climate. So, you know, not only are we going to lose care workers, we're going to lose people at the recruitment functions that are going to go, do you know what, I'll go and sell finance or something a bit more attractive. And we don't want to lose those people. So, yeah, make sure you're rewarding your own internal recruitment teams and letting them know they're actually doing really well just by surviving.
Oh, great tips, great tips. And I think the rewarding and the thanks and gratitude is something that goes a long way. It doesn't even need to cost sometimes. You know, even just, you know, oh, thanks for that. Or you're doing a really good job today, you know, really great. You know, just the slightest thing, phoning them when you get home saying, I'm really sorry I didn't get a chance to see you today, but I've seen the work you've done and it's been brilliant. So, you know, thanks for it. It sounds twee and we shouldn't be disingenuous about it, but it goes a long way. It goes a really long way. I think they're all great tips. And I think retention is something that I know Joe's keen to talk about and we'll probably talk about in a little bit later on. Pretty. So you run a home, you run a service, you need these staff yourself. Recruitment, what are your top tips for our managers? And for those who don't know, Pretty is, you know, really up there with the leading managers at the moment, involved with care associations and the people plan report and doing all this extracurricular stuff. So I know you're doing a great job. So what are your tips on recruitment for us?
So what we have, how we retained our staff, we've been using a company, our sister company called KMS Care, who actually literally helped us from start to finish recruiting the staff for tier 2 levels and international, because what we faced with the barriers was no jab, no job. That took away a lot of our carers either being forced to have a jab when they didn't want to keep their job, or staff leaving. But to retain like majority of our staff, what we did do was have pizza parties, go bowling with them, you know, trying to increase their wages, because at the end of the day, there's companies like Amazon, for example, paying them £15 an hour. So why would they want to stay with us when we're not being able to pay them enough? And what some care homes did not recognize was they're human beings. They're not just carers, they're care professionals. And when you title them as the professional, that does go a long way. Not just a care staff, not a care member that you're doing care work. You're a professional at the end of the day. Ask Boris Johnson to come and do the care work. I don't think he would be able to, do the personal care. But with us, we are professionals. What we did to retain our staff, like I said, was give them pizza parties, have fish and chips on a Friday, night staff as well, send them pizzas at night time, have a delivery delivered to the home, increase their wages. As Adam said, recognize that they, are professionals, and make sure that they feel that they are part of the home. I mean, recently the care home, we were awarded the care home of the year for, I can't remember what we were for now, outstanding care home provider of the year. So that, again, it was for the care staff. And when we received the award, it was a whole team meeting and everybody applauded. That brings a boost to their system, and actually the morale, it brings it up. There's so many little things that we do not realize as care managers, that the tiniest thing, the time you spend, just 5 minutes, are you happy? Is there anything we can do? That 5 minutes goes a long, long way. So what I would say is give them parties, a cost to the company, a small amount, but then you've got the staff retained. Give them the title as a professional. They will stay as a professional, and you've given them a next step on the ladder to say, well, hold on, I'm not just a carer. I am somebody that my manager looks after, that my manager wants to talk to me and, guide me, and etc. That's what we say. And also, I know it's difficult with a living wage. We try and see if you can up that, and that will really, really go a long way. Sometimes it's not always about money, because they could easily go to Amazon, you know. It's about you appreciating them, making sure they are included as a team, as you know, as part of, and there's no hierarchy. I'm not the manager. If I needed to be on that floor, I'm on that floor. I'm doing personal care with them, and somebody else can do you know, office work or etc. That's what we need to do, and that is what we did as a care home.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, Caroline agrees with you. You know, introducing care homes as part of the family, care home teams as part of the family is essential. And Alison says, yeah, you know, I think this was to you, Damien. Some of the best carers they've had are people without that experience. Just before I come to you, Joe, pretty. So all of these are really great tips, and for fear of souring the taste in Scott's mouth, because I know his complete, not his full opinion, but a sort of opinion on referral schemes. Referral by word of mouth must be great for you. If your team are going out there going, look how our organisation is treating us, they really respect us. Are you seeing that help with your recruitment and the word of mouth through the door?
Yes, we are. And also, I'm not saying everybody wins an award or anything, but winning these awards has also helped us to show that the care that we do provide is out there, and it is actually recognized, not just locally by families, but it is recognized nationally. So for the staff to say, bring their family members over, for example, say my sister's not got an experience, however she would like to come on tier 2, you know, because I really like working here. Again, there's another candidate that can come on board. Like Joe said, with experience or no experience, we have recruited, you know, a staff without experience, but we've trained them in that sense. And anybody who has joined us and requires a further training, that's what we have provided. We must, as managers, make sure any training that they require is provided to them, and anything that they do have an open door policy, which is what we do have. Staff are able to come into you, talk to you any time of the day and say this, and we're able to help. And that is what they look for, is that comfort, is that pillar to stand back on, and somebody to support them. So absolutely. Word of mouth is there.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. Word of mouth is absolutely great, and I applaud anyone who can build their reputation up like that. But the sad truth is, at the moment, we just don't have the talent pool to reach from. And when we think word of mouth alone, we come to a finite pool. Think fishing in a pond that never gets replenished. Which brings us to overseas recruitment and other solutions. Do you see that segue there, Joe? You know, I'm leading you in nice here. So, Joe, what are your top tips for us on recruitment?
Thank you, and I see the segue, by the way. I liked it. Well, so the first, I think it's coming back to the point that one of the points that Scott said. It's about the process, right? Making sure that you have processes that are defined, processes that will enable you to build a candidate profile. One that is comprehensive, that allows you to show the values that you have for the company or organizations that you have, because people will see that and they will respond to that. People want to work for an organization they can feel, wow, this organization is really well structured, takes care of their people. But I think specifically, pointing out at that job specification and that candidate profile, because getting that part right ensures that you mitigate some of the risks that are associated with international recruitment, and making sure that you choose the right person with the right motivation sometimes, and also as someone who's got a right work ethic as well. Is very important. So that would be the first tip for me, making sure that you've got that down. The second is seeking advice. Advice is free a lot of the times. If you just call someone that knows the sector, that knows exactly what they're talking about, they can offer you free advice about not only just the process, but some of the challenges, some of the risks that are associated. And by doing that, you can actually decrease some of the fears that you have, for especially when you're talking about international recruitment, and it can help you to plan for that process, to make sure that you have everything that is in place in order for you to fully utilize it, and to make sure that you build that solid foundation of care givers in your organization that can actually help you to deliver that top quality care. And also, going back to one of the other points that was mentioned already, I think this would be more towards retention. Now, if you think about people that are coming in, is both internationally and even people that are local as well, people in the care industry want to be cared for, along with them caring for other people. And if you look at their qualities, their traits, usually these are people that are just relational, right? People that really just care about the neighbor, their whomever they're looking after. So if you care for these people, you definitely retain them better. One of the tips that I read recently was just doing something simple. Sometimes inviting their families, Family Appreciation Day. Because while they're off to work, and when they're working those 12-hour shifts, they're doing all of that, they have people that are caring for them as well. They have that family behind the scenes that are making sure that they get up on time, they have all the energy that they need, the washing, everything that is done in the background to allow them to do their role, to do their job. So it's just showing that appreciation for those people. Will definitely go a long way, because when you think about going somewhere maybe that has a little bit more money, you first think, are they going to care for me as well as this organization has? And yeah, that could be the difference between keeping someone and losing them for something. So those are the three main tips that I think are essential.
Caring for the carers. It sounds revolutionary, but it's not, is it? At the end of the day, it's just bloody common sense. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment. In fact, I'm just in the middle of creating a module for a course that I'm writing, and it's around stoicism and the understanding of living a virtuous life. You know, just being a decent person, being, you know, giving and accepting, and, you know, love thy neighbor. You know, let's look at these ethical behaviors just to treat people a bit better. Well, I mean, we've got enough tips now to go out and actually do what we can control, do what we can influence to make ourselves recruit better, to get more people in through our doors. If we look at the circle of influence, the circle of control, the stuff in the center, obviously we can do. The stuff in the middle is stuff we can influence, but there's stuff on that outside that we literally have no control over. And although I would say to people, don't focus on the stuff that you can't control, I do want to know from each of you, really, magic wand wise, what is like the one or two things you think, if we could have a magic wand to change, would help us with recruitment? Because there are some drastic things that need to change. You know, I would wave a magic wand and go back in time and erase Brexit, for example. You know, it's never going to happen, but there are things that we need to consider. So open floor, anyone unmute and have a conversation. But what's drastic that we need to change?
I think one of the biggest challenges the sector faces is definitely around the perception of a job versus a career. And I think Pretty's summed it up really well. I doff my cap to any manager that's going out there flying the flag to get outstanding and get awards, because we sometimes tend to think care as an industry has unique problems to running any other business. Now, Damien's firm look after all types of sectors. You know, we are only in adult social care, but those guys will be looking at all sorts of walks of life. And the thing is, in my career, people will often leave bad managers, not because of a job. So it's amazing to me how when we're getting people into the sector, and I think it's a compounded problem. Pretty probably tell me wrong if I'm off on target here, but the reality is we want people to progress. We've taken on all our recruiters have got a connection to care or worked in care. So we want people to have walked in those shoes so that when we're acting on behalf of the client, they understand and have the empathy and they understand what it's like to do the job. Now, we had a lady the other day, this is a classic example. I got into the job, I wanted to be care, I loved the role, I wanted to progress into the office stuff, got into care coordinator. We've lost that many staff. I'm now back out in the field. I can't see myself getting back in there because we haven't got enough staff. So the career pathway is not there for her and she can't see a way in. The thing that's keeping her there or had been keeping her there is that she's that ideal kind of care worker where she doesn't want to let the people that she cares for down, and that's where, as Damien rightfully said, you cut them out. It's in your DNA, care. It's not a vocation. A nurse becomes a nurse, not to be a nurse. It's to look after others. And I think when you distill down what is care ultimately, it's one human being look after another human being that's not even a family member or a blood relative. You're asking somebody to take care of somebody that's not related to them, selflessly, with compassion, let them live with dignity. And that is all well and good, but people have to put food on the table. They have to pay the gas bills. They have to see a career. And, I spoke to a guy, the ops director. He's ops director at Westwood Care. He's come from a care worker, gone to Boop, has a fantastic career. So there's loads of people, pretty probably followed the path, as majority of successful people are, but you've got to show them the way. And that comes through leadership. It comes through support and it all mends in. So I think the perception of getting a career in care has to be more than just, hey, you've got to have the right values, guys. You're going to give me, but where am I? I can't afford, and maybe I can't afford to live off £10.50 an hour till I'm 60. So how do I stay in this sector? How do I go somewhere? So it's difficult for people, but I think the perception of care is not something that just needs to continually be talked about, but something that everybody has to fly the flag of. It would be my start for 10.
Basically, it's like culture in an organization, isn't it? We can't just have a few people doing it. It's got to be widespread, because if we have a number of people doing it and then tomorrow they get abducted by aliens and they're gone, then who else is going to fly the flag for social care? So yeah, fully agree.
I hear that's a big problem in Blackpool. I've been abducted by aliens.
Being abducted by,
anybody.
All views are mine and not of the company I represent, all that jazz. Oh dear, public perception. I think there was a hint of money in there as well. I think there was a hint of, we do need more money. We do need more wages for people.
You were talking about wages. My son's flipping burgers. He's 17 years old. He's on £10 an hour. He works from 9 o'clock till 5:30, 2 nights a week. He's bagging £110 a week. He's on more care than care workers work. And the ironic thing about that, when we talk about the pressure for finding staff now, his best mate went for a job there. This is just a little story, but I think it just sums up two things that I thought will help people get their heads around this. His friend went in for £7 an hour. They said, "Oh, you're only 17." He went in for a job. They offered him £7 an hour because he's only 17. He said, "No, I'm not bothered, mate. I've got another opportunity." 2 weeks later, they rang him back, offered him the full wage at £10 an hour. So 2 weeks they waited, couldn't find anybody, and he's back in there straight in at £7 to £10 an hour, like that. And what did he do? He got my son. He got his best mate. Got my son a job there, and that's it. And if you look at a recruit we've just taken on board, guy applied on a Monday. We spoke to him on a Wednesday. We could only get him in for interview on a Friday. And David says, "Well, I said to him, 'Look, Chris, I'm conscious you might have been for other interviews, other opportunities. Have you had any of the offers? Are you waiting for any?' And he said, 'Yeah, I've got 3 offers already, and I'm waiting on 2. So I'm speaking to a guy on a Wednesday. I can't see him till Friday. I'm 6th. I'm 6th in the queue, for a job offer.
Yeah.
And that's me as a recruiter. We're a recruitment consultancy. So we're slugging it out.
Yeah.
In Leeds, Headingley is buzzing. It's fine. We've got a big pool of people. But so he's now vetting me. He's checking me out, and I'm having a conversation with him. If you like the job, if we could make you an offer by Friday, would you be happy to accept? But I don't have to jump through DBSs I don't have to jump through reference checking. I can get the guy in on a Monday. Care workers can't. And this is why things like the process, the execution act, the way you present yourself, it is so critical. But yet, 17-year-old, £10 an hour flipping burgers, that's what you're up against.
Yeah.
And Scott, it's not just flipping burgers. There's a friend of mine who his son just turned 17, interviewed at Primark, again, same wage, £10 plus, at Primark, and he's only 17. For us, it was, well, hold on, I'm not kind of saying go to Primark, but why are our wages so low when we're, as carers? And when you mentioned that we've got to do DBSs and it takes us a week to have carers come in, they've got the trainings to do, they've got all these courses to do, so where that actually just proves that we are professionals. We have all these 20 odd courses to do before we can even get into the care industry. So why are we at the same wage as someone who is a 17-year-old or less than?
It's completely out of kilter. It doesn't make sense. And the thing
the difference is Primark use blooming slave trade in different countries, and their overheads, I'm going to say it, Joe, don't laugh at me. They do. There's fashion industry that uses people for pittance. They pay them peanuts and make a ton of money. What happens in social care, unfortunately, is we're the peanuts. We get paid the peanuts to do something that is so vast, and the overhead, it's a shame that other industries can abuse people the way they do. I mean, and Joe, this is one of the things that I hear from people, and I just want to touch on quickly about overseas recruitment. What I'm hearing from people is overseas recruitment is the only opportunity or the only option they've got at the moment, because there's just no one walking through the door. But they're expected to pay them more than they're paying their carers in this country. So, it's not like Primark who will go overseas and not pay them enough. We're bringing people in and paying them a cracking wage to start off with in this country, but we can't even pay our own people that. And that's not me, by the way, going on a Brexit rant. I think everyone should be paid an extortionate wage. I think they should do in care. But how do we manage that on overseas recruitment when we might not even be able to pay our own staff, say 10.50 an hour?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I think as an organization, you just need to have a look at again, just take stock of everything, right? And realize that without the carers, you cannot provide the care that you need to. But also, just realizing that you have to pay people that you have to pay people what they are worth, right? And carers are worth quite a lot considering the responsibility that they have. So it's just taking stock of that, realizing that, and then just saying, okay, how much can we, where can we save on some aspects, and then actually just take that money and put it to our carers. Take, for example, an organization that I'm working with. They're very happy to spend 17, 20, 23, sometimes 26 pounds per hour recruit on agency staff, that are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So, but they just can't take that and distribute it among the carers. I mean, I think as an organization, you just need to sit down, really think about it. Think about the people that are around you, and just allocate the right funds to them.
Exactly. And I think, I've spoken to many managers in the past who've been, I've even given them, not unsolicited advice, but, pro bono sort of, I'll sit down and help you out and have a conversation. And I just don't know how to pay them more, because I've worked out how much I want to spend on food and decor and marketing. And I've worked out how much I want to spend on this. And this is for new technology. And I go, but right, well, what's the driving force? What keeps your business running? Apart from the people you're supporting, what keeps you running? Well, my team. Right.
Exactly.
Start off with your team. How much do you want to pay your team?
Exactly.
Then work out your overheads for everything else. Then work out your budgets for everything else. Simple.
Absolutely.
If I want to spend all my money each month on entertainment, I'll start with how much I want to spend on entertainment, and everything else comes before that. All comes after that. And that's what we should be doing with our team. Damien, Scott's already mentioned that you don't just do health and social care with cohesion, and there's so much talk around recruitment being just diabolical everywhere at the moment. It's a problem in all industries. How do we stand out in social care? How do we go, look, we know everyone wants you, and you're pretty much speed dating us at the moment for jobs because you can do and pick and choose who you want. How do we stand out better?
I mean, the big thing for me about, and this has been said a few times, that care is about care, isn't it? It's not just a job. It's a vocation. It's what people want to do and become. So that's important. But the big thing for me, that going back to the Scott's analogy around McDonald's, that I don't know any kid in this country that doesn't know who McDonald's is, but I don't know any kid that knows what care is. And that's inherent in the system, that we don't, if you go to a careers day, kids don't say, I want to jump into care. They want to go into STEM industries. They want to go into marketing. They want something glitzy, because that's the way that the world appears to be. And, that's how people feel that they're going to be recognised and noticed in the world. It comes down to the old Maslow's theory that people want to be part of community and society. So what makes me feel the best about being me? And unfortunately, we don't tell people how good care actually is and how rewarding it is. And, you can't be a manager from one industry and become a manager in care. It just doesn't work like that. There's massive opportunities for progression in the care industry. And I have to be careful when I talk to people, because I start getting super excited and consciously think, right, slow your talking down, calm yourself down. But I see the value in care, and I see it every day, as you guys do. But are we letting the rest of the world know what a powerful industry it is? And you can actually go home making a difference to somebody's life, or you can go and flip burgers and keep them going. It's different, isn't it? But again, that's not a quick fix at all by any stretch. And how we make ourselves stand out, that is definitely a magic wand, isn't it? I speak with companies that are spending, again, hundreds of thousands of pounds a year on marketing and branding. And going back to your analogy, Adam, why don't they just pay the staff a little bit more and make them feel more valued, rather than spend hundreds of thousands telling other people how good they are, but they can't keep the staff? It's upside down. So, completely agree with the fact that we should be putting staff at the top of the tree rather than the last thought, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We've had a question come in, and they want to know, Declan in our comments from LinkedIn as well. So thank you for joining us, Declan. Do you find the same issues apply to bank staff or temporary staff employees, or are we talking more about permanent employees and vacancies? I will just start this conversation off with how many people have you ever met that have gone, well, our bank staff are paid X amount and our actual staff are paid X amount, and the actual staff are paid less than what the bank and temporary staff are? So to the panel, is this something that is applying just to bank and temporary staff, or is this more permanent and employee roles?
I'm going to go with the fact it's definitely the permanent workforce, because that's what everyone inherently has always wanted. Want a permanent workforce, and that's understandable. It improves consistency, quality of care. But when we've got massive gaps on rota, then you look at the other options. Like, there's certainly a place in the world for agencies. I think agency costs are trending up about 20% quarter on quarter, which just shows that there's a driving place in the marketplace to fill those gaps through agencies. To touch on bank, and I'll really do this quickly because I will go off on a tangent. There's a massive opportunity in bank staff, managing bank staff proactively, not going to them when you can't fill your vacancy and they're the last person you're going to call. Engage with them, ask them for availability up front, get them engaged in your rotas, make them feel like part of the team, part of the community, and all of a sudden they'll be giving you availability and filling in the gaps in the rota. But it's the permanent workforce that are being most effective, because everyone else will either go, I'll go agency and I can earn more money, or bank staff tend to be the people that are going to go and get work elsewhere and just try and keep a friendly relationship with you, and we'll take some over. So
I think you find, no that Damien would agree with this, but we've found a lot of clients that have said, we've got a bank workforce, and it's a load of rubbish. They haven't got a bank workforce. They've got 10 names on a spreadsheet, and when you look at the monthly invoicing, Julie and Janet get all the shifts because they're the favourites, and if they're not available, I can't be arsed ringing the rest. I haven't got time. So panic, let's agency, and so really you haven't got a bank workforce, not one that's really working. So what Damien's saying there is bang on the money, is that either make them part of the team. If you had to pay a slight premium, a slight luxury, a little bit extra for that, I think some people could handle the fact that these are people that are only wanting to pick up ad hoc shifts. These aren't on a regular 40, 35, 40-hour week. But again, I think that bank stuff is, but everybody's got the permanent issue, which is, I think, why home care providers in particular are now seriously looking at the overseas market, because there is a real worry, and it's been hanging around for a while. We've had clients where, got one particular client northeast who wanted to, or was, before we sort of got hold of it, wanted to advertise their roles as full-time. First candidate coming, oh, delighted, great candidate rings up. What's going on at this place? We've been for an interview. He's only offered me 16 and a half hours a week. And you speak back to the client, I thought you wanted full-time because you've got 300 hours on a waiting list. All this so-called business you want. Here's somebody that needs full-time hours. Yeah, but if I give them full-time hours, then they leave, how am I going to cover it? It's like, are you insane? It's like, where do we go with this? So why would somebody, it's like you're trying to explain to somebody, and again, let's just say how it is. You're running a business. You want somebody full-time. Why would a full-time person take part-time hours? Why would they do it? It's just stupid. And it's the thing is, where does that leave you? So that person's now pissed off. They've gone to a meeting, and it's like, for what? So there is a lot of this stuff where you've got to look at what this is a candidate-driven market like you've never seen. The candidates are telling you what you are. So if you're looking at, we've just done a project now. We were able to match people across multiple providers. The benefit to it was the providers had all got multiple shift patterns with different hours and different availability. And where the most people are going, well, you've got to work that to that or this to this. And there's no flexibility. The workforce doesn't want to work that. So you're not going to fill it. It'd be better to have 2 part-timers filling a shift than 1 full-timer that doesn't want to work 12 hours. And when you speak to some people, sorry guys, but it is a bit of extra work for you because juggling this. But at the end of the day, the candidates, the market's telling you where it's going to work. So your shift pattern may not be as pretty as what you want it to be. It may take a bit of juggling. But if you're going to fill it, you've got to address these issues. Some of the most successful clients we've worked with have not got that fixed mindset, that to that, this to this, and so I think you have to be flexible, because what went before is not how it is now, and everybody knows is that, again, you would know this. Before it's like, spending, Indeed's rubbish, you get loads of candidates, all load of crap. Now it's like, it's not taking any money at all. It's not spending any money. He spent £24 on my pay clip. I had £2,000 allocated to it, and I can't get any. Suddenly, they're begging it to take the money, because the well has dried up. Google Jobs has come along and shafted that, and basically, with the candidate market, people are not coming into that funnel anymore. Yeah. So people are then like, well, what am I going to do? So what seemed like, it was so tough back then. Like, oh my God, that was really like shooting fish in a barrel. Now I need a sniper rifle, and I'm trying to take a shot from a mile away, to try and get people. And it's just, no wonder, from a recruitment agency's perspective, it's quickly becoming a fusion between recruiter expertise and digital marketing, online prowess that you can understand Facebook, Instagram, Google SEO, pay-per-click. And if recruitment wasn't hard enough for them in the first place, lumping in that is for a little, John and Janet's care home has been in business 30 years and still remembers when they used to ring the job centre and they'd send them 10 people. The game has changed. And one thing happens is change is constant. And once we've gone forward, it never goes back.
It would be, it'd definitely be interesting to hear from some agencies on this topic, because there is a place for 0-hour contracts. I don't think the banning of 0-hour contracts is the way forward, because there are people who like that flexibility. There are people who like that ability to pick.
Why not offer both?
Well, exactly. You can offer a hybrid, but I am seeing and hearing more of agency workers leaving to become their own sort of, they're becoming their own entity and going off and doing PA work. And, I know we call it our unregulated workforce, but I do believe that these gig economy carers are going to be integral to the future of social care. I think when I went through an outbreak last September, could I find an agency to provide me carers during an outbreak? Now, part of that will be because we had COVID in the home. I'm not bloody daft. But I was working 24-hour shifts and I was on my knees and I was absolutely knackered. And I was getting from the agencies back then, look, we were struggling to recruit agency workers. We're just struggling to get them. There's no one coming to do agencies. And even then I was thinking to myself, if you're paying them, say, £12 an hour and you're struggling to recruit them, how the bloody hell am I going to get them through the door when all I can pay is £10.50, £11 an hour? You know, I'm going to struggle. Pretty, have you noticed any issues? I mean, I don't want to paint this as a negative in using agency. I think there is a place for agency. So if you have, you know, have you noticed anything within agencies and bank staff where they've been struggling to recruit, or are you struggling to keep a bank staff roster?
So I was coming to this when Scott was mentioning it. I think what managers are trying to do is minimize staff, in the sense that this is all I need. I only need 4 carers at this time, etc. What we've done is we've overstaffed, whereby this is especially through pandemic, because you do not know when somebody has COVID or when somebody's going to go off sick. And like I mentioned at the beginning, is when we had to retain our staff, we still have such a great team that we're so lucky that we've not needed an agency or agency staff, bank staff to come in and help us out. We've had a great team. I've overstaffed, had enough. If somebody calls in sick, we're covered, or staff come in and help out. So I think what care home managers do need to realise is, I understand we're struggling with the finances and the wages, etc. But we need to make sure staff feel that they are supported and not overworked. Like you said, Adam, you were working 24 hours and on your knees. That is not what staff need to feel. They need to make sure there is enough of us as a team, and managers can come in and help as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done night shifts through pandemic as well. So, but I think what we did with recruitment, and we're quite lucky with KMS Care, who with international candidates were able to get them in quick for and find their accommodation, etc. I had no hassle at all with KMS Care, and we were able to recruit quickly. So in a way, I can't relate to those who have been having those problems, because what I did beforehand was over recruit, and have enough staff to make sure I've got my shifts covered. So you've got to build that team. You've got to have at least an extra member of staff on per shift, just to make sure. I know it's not cost worthy, but you've got to do it for your staff to retain them. Otherwise, they will feel drained, and that's it. They'll leave, and that's not what you want.
No, completely. And, you know, I think there's something there's something about all of that, and seeing problems is potential benefits to us. You know, so instead of looking at these problems as negatives, can you tell I'm really doing some work on stoicism and cognitive behavioral therapy at the moment? It's like infesting my brain, but it's good because it makes me feel good, which reinforces my actions and my thoughts, which reinforces my emotions. Everyone go and learn about it. It's fantastic. But it's about seeing those silver linings and thinking, right, what can we do now? You know, we're struggling to recruit. Oh, negative. Actually, this could be a huge positive for us, because, like Scott says, let's go and have a look at our shift patterns, because I know a number of school mums want to come and work for me, but they only can do 9 till 3. So if I offer a 9 till 3 shift, they may be able to come and work for me. Oh, but who are you going to get to work before 9 o'clock? Well, I know a number of grandparents who are cleaning at the moment in offices 5 till 9. Because that's the only time they can do, because then they go and look after the grandkids because the mums go to work. Oh, why don't we offer a 5 till 9 shift in the care home as well? Like Scott says, it's higgledy-piggledy. You know, it is going to be hodgepodging your shifts together. It's going to take effort. But using that to your advantage, just because something's always been an 8 till 8 doesn't mean it always needs to be.
The way to look at it, though, think about it this way as well, is that they won't get that shift anywhere else.
Exactly.
And interesting enough, Pretty made a fantastic point, is that same with Westwood Care, is that when we first started working with those guys, it was only when the new operations director came into the business and identified that they were minus 14% understaffed. So we could, while we were being asked to fill in a, I suppose, a reactive fashion. You leave, I replace. You leave, I replace. You could never ever solve the problem, because at minus 14% understaffed is any sickness, holiday, absenteeism, anything like that happens, training's out the window, all bets are off, you're scrabbling around, you're burning out staff, they resign, why do I bother? Stupidly not paying, say for example, in one client, not paying overtime or not paying it to pick up an extra shift. But as Joe said, but you pay 20 quid an hour to an agency to do it. Well, why just pay an extra £1 or £2 an hour to the client to pick up the shift? And I think Adam Hutchinson had a great idea where they've got a little shift pattern thing where he has an open conversation with his team saying, look, you guys have all got families, you've got kids. Often holidays and sickness comes at the last minute, let people down last minute. And it might well be, I just need to go to my daughter's parents' evening or pick up something. So rather than saying, I need to do this because I've got family, could somebody stay on a couple of hours so I can start, rather than you cancelling the shift, coming in and saying, could somebody pick up a couple of hours for me and I'll help you out and pick up yours later on. And actually encouraging openness and accepting that we've all got lives outside of the care business and collaboration. Your daughter's sick, needs to go to the dentist. Well, then you need a morning off. Why take a full day off? Could somebody pick that up for me that morning? And it's working. But something like Pretty's obviously got it down pat, because you're talking about, you understand your business, you understand leadership, you understand the value of people. And like as Joe said, we are a care sector, so we care for people. But if you can't care for your own staff, you're probably in the wrong game.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry. I just wanted to add to that, especially about I think Pretty might agree with this as well. Something that I've been finding with overseas recruits is that if you have, let's say, a group of them, and one is unable to do a shift, a very good thing is that one will be very willing to say, you know what, I'll come in and pick up a shift. So, but by doing, as Scott is saying, and having that flexibility where you can just know your team and have everyone sort of on the same page, you can actually say that, okay, can so-and-so come and cover the shift? Can so-and-so come and cover the shift? And even the local candidates that you have, you'll be able to do that. So again, it's just about awareness of your own business, and making sure that you utilize everyone that is actually in your team.
But here as well, Joe, is as a manager, I don't do that. I leave my team members to do that because I have faith in them. They're a team, they're a family, they talk to each other. And if a member of staff needs to have a certain day off, they'll ask me saying, I need this day off. This person has agreed to cover my shift. Are you okay? Both of them kind of email HR saying, we're both happy to take this day off. This person's happy to cover, and it's covered. That is left to the carers and the trust that they have in each other. If one A has covered for B, B will cover for A. And that's my whole team. I have not had that stress to say who's going to cover, what's happening. I leave it to my carers. That the professionals in the end of the day, the human beings. If they can't cover the shift or there's nobody there to cover, then they'll come to me and I'll be able to sort something out, or I'll cover the shift myself. But majority of the time, they do it themselves. So, like you said, who's going to cover the shifts? I've left it to my staff. And I think that's the trust that managers do need to have in their carers, to let them be their own people, let them swap the shifts, allow them, not all the time, but 1 or 2 shifts here or there, and have that, whatever reason it is, pick up the children, off you go for a couple of hours. It's fine. I'm here anyway. I'll cover your shift for 2 hours, come back and then I'll leave to go home, or etc. You've got to have that trust in your carers. And that is, as a manager, you build that trust, you build that faith with them, and they will respect you and come to you and say, I've done this, thank you very much. And it's great. And like you said, Adam, picking up shifts, or when Scott said, do a couple of hours here or there, somebody else picking up shift. paying an agency £20, like Scott said, give a box of chocolates to the staff. Thank you very much. Here is your box of chocolate. Not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get a box of chocolate to say, thank you very much for your shift. Thank you for this. Thank you for... You've just got... The word thank you means a lot to these care professionals.
No, I was just all I wanted to say quickly is what we're actually talking about here, what we're actually describing here is self-managing teams.
Yeah.
What we're actually saying here is give our teams the power to manage themselves, because they can do it, you know, not to credit Bertalk for all of this idea of self-managing teams, because I'm sure self-managing teams have been around as long as, you know, the I'm going to say it, the Stoics, because I am on a roll with Stoicism at the minute. But self-managing teams will have been around for donkey's years. We just have forgotten how to let people make those decisions themselves. Sorry, Joe, I interrupted you, pal.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I was just going to I completely agree with Pretty's point. Allowing them or giving them, allowing people to manage themselves, because ultimately what that will create is a system where people are willing to go the extra mile for each other. Because personally, if I'm thinking of it, if my mom is coming in and I don't have anyone to look out for her, and you allow me to go, the next time you ask me to cover one or two shifts or even a couple of hours, I'm going to say, you know what? Thank you. You did that for me before, so I'm more than happy to do that for you now. So it creates a culture where everyone really just wants to help each other, and they see the value of helping each other as well.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I've just clocked the time and I can't believe I've kept you all for an hour. It's been an incredible conversation. But before we disappear, if you will just stay with me for 2 more minutes, one last tip of wisdom for our viewers. One last tip, because they've stayed with us all episode. They've got so much from this, but from each of you, one last sort of nugget, golden nugget that they can take away and go and make their lives a little bit more positive, a little bit less stressful tomorrow. Pretty.
As we said, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Make sure you see that. Treat the staff as care professionals, not just carers. Respect them and let them make their own decisions. They're not children. They are adults where they can make decisions. Appreciate them. That's how you will retain them as staff and keep them as a family. Don't keep them as, okay, you're here today, gone tomorrow. No, they're a team that make the whole care home, and because of them, that's where you are right now. Keep them and make sure they are professionals.
Yeah, and check out KMS Care, fully supported by Pretty here. So Damien, one last word and nuggets.
Yeah, care workers are an ultimate rare resource. They need to be treated accordingly. Don't filter people out of processes. Onboard them. Promote your company. Promote your jobs. Sell. Don't recruit and cut people out. That's probably the biggest positive I can give you guys right now. Sell your jobs. They're worth it.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Thank you, Damien. Scott.
As we said, rolling out the red carpet for the candidates. There's an article on our website and on one of the blogs that a guy called John Chapman wrote. He's a consultant, and I've shared his article on our site, and it's called "It's Time to Focus on Staff-Centered Care," which is again putting everything that you do around that candidate piece to get people on board. It's all about putting them at the center of the wheel. Your text, the way that you articulate your adverts, don't start your adverts with "we were established in 1963." Talk about why it's a great place to work. Everything has to be about you, the candidate. Put them at the center of your process, manage them, and like you said, treat them like gold. Don't be cancelling your interviews and thinking that people are going to come back next week. You've got to be executing things with quality and with speed, and make everything about your marketing, literally your content. Sell to them why you should be the employer of choice, and put that there and drive quality and integrity into each candidate. Don't be frightened to get let down by people. People will not show up. People will let you down, but just accept that as part of the process. The candidate's got the pick of the jobs, because if you've only got to drop the ball on one, and it could be that all-important candidate that you really need to hire. So like you said, make everything count, put everything as around the candidate and the candidate experience.
Yeah, if you're going to screw up, it's going to be at that sort of interview and application phase. So if you don't screw up then, and you can get him through the door, you're doing good. I think, love that tip, Scott. It's, you know, it's great. Maybe I paraphrase slightly with the screw up, but it's one of those, isn't it? Joe.
For me, it's international recruitment is a powerful tool that every care provider can utilize. I encourage people to seek out other care providers that have done it, that know the process, for advice if you have any questions, and seek out professionals, us if you really want to, people that have. People that are on the ground, that are looking at these candidates, that know the culture, people that know the subtle nuances of conversation, because all of these people will be able to guide you through the process. They'll be able to help you to select the right candidates, and to filter through all of the other problems you might think you might encounter. But again, it's just about trusting the process, making sure that you invest time and adequate resources to making sure that you do that. Once you've done it, I know it can be a very, very good asset for all care providers.
Oh, absolutely great tips from everyone. I love this. I think this is great. And we could talk for hours on recruitment. I know Scott could talk for hours on recruitment. I know I could talk for hours on recruitment. Open a bottle of red wine, I could talk for days on recruitment. I think tonight's episode's been absolutely great. It'll be great to have you all back at some point in the future whilst we continue this reshaping of the recruitment of the social care sector. And I might try and bring on some people who are employing their own PAs as well, just to see what the landscape's there, how difficult it is to be employing our own PAs nowadays. So absolutely wonderful. I thank you all for joining me. I thank everyone for joining us tonight. This is The Caring View. We are live every Tuesday on YouTube. All of our episodes are then available on all major podcasting sites. We're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the usual jargon. Go and have a great evening, and we will see you next week when Mr. Tops will be back from holiday. So he will be back from holiday, and we are discussing activities. And we do have Napa joining us, and we have I'm not going to spoil it, but we've got a fantastic activities lifestyle coordinator joining us from Castleford House as well. So it's going to be a wonderful show. Until then, have a great week, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.